Welcome back to the Unbreakable Mindset podcast with me, your host, Jude Daunt. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in feedback about last week's episode with Anne-Marie. It was a joy to record, and I'm so pleased that you've all loved hearing her story and you all resonated in some way, shape, or form. And that you were all inspired by it as well. It was a lovely conversation. I've got another one of those coming up that I can't wait to share with you as well. But for today, you have me, just me again. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was following on from an episode I must have done start of February. And the reason why I know it was an episode that I did at the start of February is because I hosted my Month to Manifest intention setting session. Now, if you don't know, I'll quickly recap. You can work with me on Month to Manifest. It's a self-study, the easiest manifestation course on the market. And what you get with that is not just the self-study part, but you also get live sessions. And it's a lovely community. Honestly, there's people who now know each other in there that didn't know each other before. And everyone's following everyone's journey and cheerleading everyone along. It's lovely. I absolutely love those sessions. They're once a month, and they tend to be the first Sunday of every month is when I try to do it. And I know that what I tend to do is I'll have a session with them. I'll feel so inspired and share a similar message to you guys on the podcast. And one of the things, so I'm hoping I did with you guys, because it's made a massive difference to the guys in Month to Manifest. One of the episodes I talked about, what is there on your vision board that you are actively avoiding doing the work on? And this prompted the guys in Month to Manifest to take action. And one of them had such amazing results. And I don't want to go too much into their story because it's their story, but they have had some of the best things happen where they were struggling to, the freelance, or where they were struggling to get work in August. I'm trying to work out the months. October, November, December, and January. February has completely shifted that for them. It's opened up the doors again. And one of the things that I was thinking about, because I knew this before we went into Month to Manifest this morning, I knew a little bit about, because she'd been sharing things on Instagram and I was messaging her. So I knew it was going to be a lovely energy on Month to Manifest today, and it was. But the notes that I'd written, and this is the going to be the subject for this week's podcast, is what to do when you know you're blocking something that should be coming to you. And we all know the pain of having something on your vision board and getting so stuck in that negative mindset that what you're actually doing is pushing it further and further away. And you can feel it happening. And the more you try to not think about those fears and the lack of, the bigger it feels. And what I wanted to do in this episode was to try and give you some top tips on how to remove that block, that mental block that keeps showing up that said, this isn't possible for you, it's not going to happen. And it makes you fear the outcome that you don't want. Now, I know this is going to resonate. Now, I know that this is going to resonate for a lot of you. And unfortunately, I've made loads of scrappy little notes. So I want you to really listen in, and fingers crossed, the bits that are meant to land for you will land for you. And we talked about it in such a lovely way in the intention setting this morning that I'm hoping I'm going to capture everything that we covered in it, because it was the best energy in that session today. And I guess when we think about what does that thought cause, it's the difference between sabotage and getting your ideal outcome. And in the middle of there is the mindset that's either going to want and empower one of those or empower the other one. And you know it when you're in that headspace, when you are sabotaging the thing that you want to allow in. And this was something that I felt was really, really important. And we took quite a few examples while we were in Month to Manifest of of different people's manifestations and what's happened to them and what mindset they were in when their manifestations happened. And what the consensus was, and I'd wrote it in my notes first, so I'm glad they approved my theory, is that the manifestation comes when there is no effort on our part. Now, that might be a little bit hard to understand. But remember, when we're in alignment with the thing that we want, there isn't effort. It's not effortful. It's just happening naturally. And that's why when we get the thing that we want, it was probably at a time when we weren't expecting it, which seems crazy because why would we not be expecting it if we've manifested it? And the reason being is because if we were sat wishing and hoping for the thing that we want, that's when we're out of alignment because we're hoping and trying to pull it in, and what we're doing is still having a fear around it. There's still a disconnection for us feeling like we've already got it because we're wishing and hoping. What we're doing is pushing it away. So when it does come to us, it's because we've shifted our focus or we've shifted our attitude around it. For example, when one of the ladies in Monster Manifest started getting work in, and this was the thing that she'd been trying to manifest for months, being freelance. And what had happened was, what she'd done in February was she changed her focus and she started to get excited again about the work that she did. And she started putting effort into the work that she did. Not that she wasn't anyway, but she wasn't doing anything. She wasn't getting paid. But she started to create and get inspired again. And what that did was it attracted some contracts in that she wasn't expecting. She hadn't gone out to look for these contracts. So it wasn't necessarily aligned action because she was already doing everything she could to apply for every job out there. What she did was she shifted her focus to feel good again, to get rid of that feeling of discomfort and a lack of. She started focusing on the things that she loves, which is creation. And she set up a YouTube video, and on the back of that got a YouTube channel rather. I'm so old. And on the back of that got loads of recognition. And then this work came in, and now she's having to turn down a few things because she's so busy, which is just, honestly, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm beaming because I love it when those things happen to people because you're in alignment. You're in alignment. And then another lady in there who, from our month to manifest in February, had decided, you know what, Jude's right. I really want to have a new partner in my life. And it wasn't anything that she'd been like, do you know what she's happy with or without, is what I wrote down. Because I asked her, how did she feel when she went into that? And so she went back on Bumble, dating app. And while we were doing months to manifest today, she had her curlers in and she was getting ready to go on a second date with this guy who's interesting and kind and lovely and the qualities that she wanted when she was thinking about, wouldn't it be amazing if? And I was asking her about this one because if you're listening to this and one of your manifestations is to be in a relationship, there's a real difference between taking aligned action without effort. Does that make sense? Aligned action would be going on the dating app. Now, you could have two people on a dating app, and we'll say one's called Sarah and one's called Claire, right? And Sarah's going on the dating app, and she has all of this, oh God, I can't believe I'm back here again. I hate these dating apps. There's probably going to be nobody in this pool of people. Oh God, why do I always get these ones matched with me? There's a real, it feels like an effort to get the outcome that she desires. She's got to go on these dates and she's not really finding the guy, and it's a real effort. Versus Claire, who's going on the dating app and thinking, do you know what? Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if I met somebody who was kind and interesting? That's what I'm hoping for. Let's see. Can you see the difference in that energy? It's completely different. And this is why we talk so much in the manifestation space of alignment. If you are out of alignment, you'll always push it away. It doesn't matter how much you've got. You could have 10 dates in the diary and you could repel every single one of those dates because of your energy going into it. The reason why these things come when we least expect it is because we've probably shifted our focus and we're not in that stage of, this must happen for me, this must happen for me. Do you know what? It'd be lush, but you know what? For now, I'm going to concentrate on this. It's either you're turning your attention to something else now, and it's giving you joy and excitement. Eventually, your energy is lifting, your spirits are lifting, and you start to come in alignment with everything because you're just in a great mood. You're not thinking about your lack of, or you're taking aligned action, but aligned action with ease. Now, I'm praying that all of this completely makes sense. It definitely did in Monday Manifest. But I'm hoping, because of my little note taking, and you'll notice if you're watching on YouTube, I am looking down at my iPad because I made so many different notes, and I know I want to make sure that I get this across because it's a difficult subject to talk about, especially when you're in it, when you are in resistance. The pain, it feels like you are carrying around so much weight, emotional weight, that feels really heavy, and it shows up everywhere. It'll show up in your friendships, it'll show up in how present you are with your friends, family, whoever is close to you. It will show up in your work. It'll show up in just the conversations that you have with people, because you will be miserable because you're in that space of lack of, and that fear of what if. You're just focusing on the outcome you don't want. And when you're sitting in that space, it's the most uncomfortable place to be, guys. And I am sending love to every single one of you who resonates with this episode. But what I want to say is it's totally possible to undo that and unpick it. And there's two magic things that you can do to be able to shift it. Or maybe three. Right, we'll do the third one first because that's the last one I thought of, and I think it requires more effort, but my presumption was you might have already done this. One, what is the thought that you're actually having? Is it valid? Is it true? And if you've done that work and you're still feeling crap, right, like you've unpicked it all, then these are the things that I want you to do next is, who would I be without this thought? Who would I be without this thought? What would I be doing? I'd be brushing my teeth and I wouldn't be thinking about it. I'd be thinking about something else. When you're in that moment, catch yourself. Who would I be without this thought? What would I be doing? And this is the best one. Who would I be if I was the person who didn't have that thought? The person who's so confident in that area that just brings it in naturally because they're just like a little beacon for it. I want you to pick somebody that you know who has the opposite belief to you, where you might have a lack of something. Your limiting belief might be about relationship, might be about money, might be about work, might be about friendships. I want you to pick somebody who doesn't have that limiting belief and they have it as an empowering belief. They just believe it is. That's what it is for them. They've always had money. They'll always have money. Money's not an issue for them. They've always been in relationships. They're in a relationship now and it's amazing. And it looks like they take it for granted because it's easy, it's effortless for them. And the same with friendships, etc., etc. I want you to really picture that person who finds the thing that you find difficult, they find it really easy. What would they be doing? How do they show up? What are the habits? What are the actions? I say, what are the actions? What are the habits? What are the actions? And what you need to do is find things to break state and your state of emotions. Because when you're in that emotional state, it's bloody painful. What can you do to break state? There are two things. You can ask yourself the question, who would I be without this anxious thought? What would the person be doing who didn't have this anxious thought? And then I want you to think of all the other things that you can do to break state. It could be shifting your focus onto something else. What can you do that would empower you? Is there a certain music that you used to listen to? I used to listen to loads of music because I used to do a lot of driving. And there's certain albums, certain songs that would shift us back to a different space. Beyonce, Love on Top, one of my favourite tracks ever. I can picture myself driving around in my little BMW convertible, like just having a great time. I loved that era. It was brilliant. And it just felt very carefree. I was in a really good headspace. I was happy to be single. Even though the song's about love on top, I was happy to be single. I was enjoying the time with my daughter on the weekends that I had it. I was enjoying work. Things were just great. That shifts me back to a good space. What music do you know that you can put on and it just helps you break state? There's another one, a song that was playing in a club where I was with one of my best mates in GAY in London, and this song came on by Sia. God, I can't think of the title, I'm so bad. But anytime that comes on now, it takes me right back to being drunk in the afternoon with him because we didn't realise we'd finished work so early. We'd ate food and then started to have a few drinks, and we went to GUI really early. There's nobody in there. It was just me and him dancing. It's probably one of the best nights, and we're in bed by 9 o'clock. It was amazing. Those little things, like what can you do to go back to something that makes you feel good, a feel good state? What can you get in the diary? What can you do? Who can you spend time with even? When you're in that headspace, there's no point in spending time with people who are in that headspace because you're just going to make each other more miserable. Who can you spend time with that you will not entertain that crap that's in your head when you're with that person? Because you'll be talking about fun things, you'll be talking about funny things and things that entertain you and things that excite you, and you'll be levels up from where you are now because you're spending time with that person. But you need to make sure you're not going to bring them down. Could you pencil that in? And I was asking the guys in the academy what in Month to Manifest, not the academy, I was asking them, when you think about, and you guys can do this as well, when you think about the times that you've manifested, it is always, and I'd love to know if it's been different from you, for you rather, it's always when you've released it, when you've released the resistance from it, you've kind of put it to one side, not forgot about it because it's still important to you, but you've shifted your focus. That is normally when the manifestation appears. I want you to think about things that you've manifested over the years, like those standout moments. What headspace were you in when it manifested? And it's nearly always when we least expect it, because we shifted our focus onto something else. And this was the same for the guys in Month to Manifest. One said, "What it happens when I'm happy either way. If I'm happy here and I'm happy there, whether it's in a relationship, it might be that you kind of think to yourself, do you know what? I'm happy either way. If it happens, amazing. If it doesn't, it doesn't." That was definitely the case for me with my husband. I was happy either way. I was happy to be on my own. I loved my life back then with me and my daughter. But I also thought, wouldn't it be nice if I get to share this with somebody, this life? But I was happy either way. And that's when he came into my life. And he's amazing. He's everything that I could have asked for on my little tick list. And another one said, it happens when I'm having fun elsewhere. So when I'm having fun elsewhere, somewhere else, the manifestation appears. When I've got other things going on, when my life is full and I'm enjoying myself, the thing that I've wanted manifests. And then one of the other guys had said, try not to have any emotion about the thing that you want. And I know I can land that with you, and you're going to be like, no, that's too hard. That's too hard. I can't not have emotion about it, because it's a hard thing to switch off. And I guess what I'm not asking you to switch, I'm not asking you to not have the emotion about it. I'm asking you to reframe the emotion that you have about it. Because at the minute it's a negative emotion, if you know that you're blocking the thing that you want to come in, it's obviously a negative emotion. You're feeling the pain of not having it. You're feeling the lack of. So being able to take that away should be your focus, not the outcome, not the manifestation. Focus on getting rid of that feeling of fear and lack of, and use that as your barometer. How do I feel today? Who would I be if I didn't have this thought? Who would I be with somebody who had the opposite thought, who just knew everything and anything was possible and knew that it was all going to work out? And that's another one I want you to add into your toolbox. Whenever you have that negative thought, I want you to ask yourself, but what if it all worked out? What if it all worked out and I get to message Jude on the Unbreakable Mindset podcast and tell her what amazing thing happened? And I'd love that. Please, please, please do. When you get a manifestation and it's something that you've been working on and you've been listening to this podcast, please do reach out and share it with me. How amazing to be able to share that with somebody who gets it and gets the journey as well. I'm going to leave it there for now. I really feel like this is an important episode for you to come back to when you feel that heaviness that weighs deep, when you know you're blocking the very thing that you want to come to you. It's totally possible to release it. It's totally possible to get out of our own way, but you need to be conscious of how you feel and you need to do the work. Have an amazing week, everyone.